quickly because he really doesn't have many units. He's got his initial force, and yeah, he's got to start working on some more very quickly.
This is absolutely crazy. Both players have lost their main, basically all their infrastructure's out of the way. Now they're fighting over the same expansion that they chose to go to. Gab has the dropship advantage, though. He's brought his dropships from Skern's main over to this expansion, so now he's working away on Skern's infrastructure that he put in there, and Gab's taking this expansion. I imagine he's going to land and get it set up. Meanwhile, Skern's got his own expansion down at the 6 o'clock, so, you know, Skern is still cleaning up Gab's base. Gab got the hell out of Skern's main, so there's like a reactor and a supply depot, so we're not going to see a complete wipeout kill yet, and it will be interesting to see if Skern can get his base back online, but the dropship army is still intact. Meanwhile, the metal army is still intact for Skern, but Skern is very light on support. He's only got one Marauder, so he's going to have to be careful about his tank placement. He's going to have to really do some creative tank micro when he's against this dropship ball. I mean, the 3 medevacs there, a whole bunch of Marines, couple Marauders, and an SCV. I don't know why he's in there, probably to marshal the troops and repair the dropships. But, you know, Skern's able to deny this expansion. Gab is doing an interesting play here. He's going for Skern's main, floating over to his natural, forcing Skern to cancel at his natural because he's floating in his buildings. So, basically, at this point, Gab is using his own buildings to scout while Skern is flying away. This is absolutely insane. We've got Skern's army here. Oh, now we've got the battle, and we've got the dropships following the tanks around the map.
He's just harassing him with these dropships overhead. If they drop, though, they're going to get completely wiped out by these siege tanks. Unless he can get the drop right on top of him. They're just kind of waiting now to see what the other player does, because they're just patrolling right above these siege tanks. It's quite an amazing just standoff, really. I mean,
this is absolutely bizarre. I've never seen anything like this in StarCraft 2. We have Skern's army with his base wiped out, anchoring the ground with massive superiority on the ground, while we have Gab's army in the air thinking about dropping, but if they drop they'll be just massacred by these tanks. But, you know, unless Skern comes up with some magic and teaches his tanks to jump, they're not going to be able to do much. Meanwhile, both players floating bases all over the place trying to get back online. I imagine that Gab is probably more maneuverable at this point because the medevacs can, you know, sort of hit and run, whereas Skern has to keep his tanks together and he can't really think about sieging, and he has nothing that can hit air units. So if either player can get their base back online, I imagine it will, you know, put them in a stronger position. Skern is just camping Gab's orbital command. Meanwhile, Gab is hunting for Skern's building. Skern's got some SCVs out though, so Skern's actually thinking about mining here. Meanwhile, Gab has minerals, but his supply block, so if he's going to want to do anything, he's going to have to throw up supply depots. I'm not sure if he's even got any SCVs left. I know he had one in the dropship. I'm not sure if that's still alive. Yes, it is. So that one SCV is super important for Gab. He has to protect that at all costs. Because he's supply blocked, he would have to lose his troops in order to make another SCV. He would have to kill his own troops off to make an SCV. So that SCV that's there now needs to think about making a supply depot somewhere hidden that these tanks can't find, so that he can then make some SCVs in a hidden place. Meanwhile, Skern is hunting Gab, and he's just following this orbital command and stalking him all over the place while he's got his own mining on. I'm not sure how this is going to end up. It's absolutely insane.
I think I got my wish though. This is definitely not a run-of-the-mill match here. There was Terran Marine Marauder Ball, and now it's turned into, well, siege tanks following dropships around the map. Well, yeah, definitely not the run-of-the-mill match.
You can't script this kind of stuff. This is absolutely insane. This is what StarCraft 2 is all about. Two players who've done sort of similar mirror builds, taking each other out, and then just coming up with this absolutely crazy shenanigans to try and find each other. Skern's mining has been revealed now, so Gab has seen it. I imagine he's going to pull his medevacs out. We are seeing Gab pull his Marines into the medevacs now, so I imagine he's going to come up, try and deny this mining operation. Skern is also supply blocked now, thanks to that little supply depot that Gab managed to snipe. So I think the showdown is going to come down at Skern's main here. He can't really afford to lose those SCVs because he is supply blocked and he can't put his SCVs into a dropship. So Skern's troops are on the way, but the mobility of Gab's medevacs is proving superior here. He takes out one SCV. Those two SCVs have to be protected. Working on the orbital command, but the Marines are still working. Now we've got the tanks coming in, and the medevacs pick up. They just do a shoot and scoop there. Oh, wow. The tanks are now just stalking the medevacs while Skern is running away, desperately trying to hide his SCVs. He has done a nice split there and opted to send them in two different directions. But Gab is really trying to throw up supply depots. That he's still guarding that SCV in the medevac there. He really can't afford to lose that. Actually, I can't find it. Maybe he has lost it and I didn't even see it. But no, there it is. It is patrolling out on the map. He is going to try and put a supply depot in a sneaky little place down there by these destructible rocks. I mean, meanwhile, Scuum is defending his own base, so he could think about trying to bring his SCVs back. And Gab's just trying to keep an eye on it. Oh, Gab is now engaging him. He's done a drop. He's going to micro. It's all happening now. The tanks are going to town on these Marines Marauders, but the Marauders are firing back. I'm not sure who's going to win here. They're down to 2 tanks. Meanwhile, we're down to 2 Marines and 1 Marauder. There's down to 2 Marauders, and they finally took out the tank. Oh, wow. 2 hero Marauders. Unbelievable. Gab has come through by the drop. Can't believe that.
I really thought Scuum had the advantage there, but I mean, he really took advantage of the fact that those tanks really weak up close, and yeah, it was a very good match in the end. Definitely not what I expected, and yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I think Scuum's in absolute shock here. He's GGing, can't believe it. He thought his tanks had superiority, but a nice drop and then a little bit of micro there from Gab on top of his tanks. The Marauders coming through with a little bit of armor from taking the bullets there. So, you know, it was down to the wire. 2 Marauders, 2 Marines ended up winning the day. These medevacs were used very nicely. I couldn't believe all the crazy shoot and scoop we were seeing all over the place. And, you know, Gab still had this barracks that he'd hidden. If he managed to get a couple of supply depots back and wasn't supply blocked, and this mining operation had gone on for a little longer, Scuum would have been okay. I think he felt very confident in his army. He maybe needed to micro his tanks a little better to take out that Marine Marauder ball, but when they did engage, Gab's medevacs had full mana there, so they could do some nice healing, which really proved the difference there. Absolutely insane game. So props to Gab for sending this replay through. This was absolutely crazy. One hell of a game.
And that's a wrap, guys. We'll see you guys later.
Adios.